Now, the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, is this morning organizing a Farmers' Day side event ahead of the national commemoration tomorrow, December the 3rd, in the Central Region. We'll take you right now to the West Africa Crop Center for Crop Improvement at the University of Ghana, Legon, for full details of that program.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Ghana Farmers' Day side event under the theme Building Integrated and Resilient Food Systems in Ghana. Today, as we're getting ready to celebrate the Farmers' Day, we want to lead a roundtable conversation to discuss key steps to move forward the agenda for an exclusive and resilient food system in Ghana. To open this event, I will please call Professor Eric Dankwa, who is the director of the West African Center for Crop Improvement, to give a welcome address. Please, Professor Dankwa.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and a very good morning to our friends from the media. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement and to AGRA's side event on building integrated and resilient food systems in Ghana on the occasion of Ghana's Farmers' Day, which will be celebrated across the country tomorrow. The topic for the conversation today is a very important one. If you look in the books of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Ghana's Farmers' Day focuses this year on capitalizing on previous efforts to modernize the agricultural sector, boost production, improve the country's food security with the aim to consolidate the country's food systems. We can say, if you interrogate what has been done over the past few years, that it is encouraging that the flagship program of the government, Planting for Food and Jobs initiative, is trying to make agriculture more sustainable and profitable for smallholder farmers, women, and youth. But you can ask whether all aspects that have to be carefully factored into the future of Ghana's agriculture have been taken care of. We can say that we need to address the problem of resilience, because if we do not build resilience in our crop plants, using modern technologies and methods that are efficient and effective in the short to medium term, it is unlikely that we will meet Sustainable Development Goal 2. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, we can say that Africa was not on track to meet SDG 2. What COVID-19 has taught us is important lessons. We now know that if we do not innovate urgently to build self-reliant systems, we cannot change the course of the development of our agriculture in the country. I often say that we do not want to be caught in the Einstein's trap, that is doing things the same way and expecting different results. We say we want to modernize our agriculture. What is our strategy to modernize our agriculture? It's an important question. Because we know too well that we cannot fool the farmers in this country all of the time. Our farmers are very smart. When we don't give them the varieties that they need, they throw the varieties away and go back to their own varieties, which gives them nothing, but of course something to look after their families. but we are thinking about. We are aware that we are facing unprecedented challenges in our world because human activity is destroying the environment. We are also aware that we have, in Ghana, population which is increasing, and by 2030, in Ghana alone, we will have about 7 million additional mouths to feed from the current population of about 30 million. It is something that we have to factor into thinking. And so we can say that if we don't transform our agriculture, which has to be driven by science, technology, and innovation, for the generation of a pipeline of products that our farmers and markets need, it is unlikely that we will meet expectations by 2030. This cannot happen without investments and well-trained scientists who can utilize efficient and effective methods in the breeding process to accelerate genetic gains for a step change in our agriculture in the shortest possible time, with old varieties giving way to new varieties coming out of impact-driven research. It is in this vein that I would like to commend the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa for the audacity to establish the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement. I believe we have all heard about the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement, in short, WACI, in this country and globally. Let me say that the audacity to establish WACI by AGRA in 2007 is what has brought us this far, and we can't commend AGRA enough. Today, the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement is by far one of the leading institutions for training PhDs in plant breeding in the world. In fact, one of the largest in the world. If you look at our track record, graduated 95 PhDs, 14 countries in Africa have released over 160 varieties for farmers. They have also attracted over $35 million to their research institutions. So immediately you can assess the value of quality education. If our efforts to transform agriculture is not underpinned by attempts to forever turn out graduates who can innovate to change the fortunes of the country, we would see that in a short time, the transformation that we started some time ago would be truncated because you wouldn't have the quality scientists who would continue delivering the varieties that we so urgently need, because we need to forever change the varieties that we use, because come different weather, you would have to throw away old varieties which were not bred for the environment. You have to change them with new varieties. So it is important that we consider all of this in our thinking as we try to make the planting for food and jobs strategy more effective so we can meet expectations in a growing Ghana. In a troubling environment, we cannot predict what is going to happen in the future, and so we cannot rely on other countries for our food. We have to ensure that forever we can develop the seeds that we need for farmers locally and ensure that farmers can access those varieties. So on this note, I would like to again commend AGRA for thinking about coming to the center you yourself established about 15 years ago in this country. We can assure you of our commitment to the partnership to rethink AGRA's new strategy. I believe that AGRA's new strategy is going to be well informed, and WACI will be an important player in conversations which will lead us into 2030. So let me welcome all of you to the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement. I wish you great conversations as you think about Ghana and where Ghana should go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for this welcome address. So without further ado, I will now call on the floor Mrs. Juliet Lompo Agro, who is the Ghana Country Manager for AGRA. Mrs. Lompo Agro.
Thank you very much. Good morning, partners. Good morning, our friends from the media. It is an honor to be here today on this occasion, even as we organize this Farmers' Day side event to mark this year's National Farmers' Day to celebrate our farmers. And on that note, it is an honor for me to say a few words to congratulate our farmers, to encourage our farmers on this occasion. Our gallant farmers have done great things for us again this year, and they deserve praise. They have provided us with the maize, the cassava, the plantain, the fish, the meat, and other foods that have helped us to ensure that many people are able to go to bed without the pains of hunger. All these, despite the challenges that climate change and other stresses like COVID-19 have brought upon our agriculture sector. We are proud that you, our farmers, have stood tall all through the difficult times to help make Ghana food and financially secure. And for that, we say, Ayeko. The first Friday in December, National Farmers' Day, is always a special one for us at AGRA. As a farmer-centered organization, we are glad to have a day where we can place our farmers on the pedestal and genuinely thank them for the sacrifices and commitments for this nation. In all honesty, it is easy for most of us to take the food we eat for granted when it is available abundantly. But we must also be reminded that there are people out there who, to celebrate our farmers, is really a worthwhile gesture by the government and people of Ghana. Once again, congratulations to farmers across the country, and we continue to wish you hamper harvests and good profits in the years ahead. This year's National Farmers' Day is being celebrated under the theme, Planting for Food and Jobs, Consolidating Food Systems in Ghana. The Planting for Food and Jobs program is a commendable initiative by the government of Ghana, which we at AGRA are confident will continue to enhance the nation's food security. Through this initiative, smallholder farmers across the nation are now receiving improved seed, fertilizer, extension services, storage and processing facilities, and better markets, all of which translate into increased incomes and better food for the nation. The program is an important catalyst for rapid expansion in agriculture and food productivity through the promotion of both public and private sector investments that transform the outputs of smallholder farmers. And while the PFJ initiative is achieving its intended success, we must not get comfortable because a lot more work is needed for us as a nation to continue to attain a comfortable balance between what our farmers produce and what we consume. In this regard, we need to better integrate our 6 core agricultural systems: seed, fertilizer, extension, input system, inclusive finance, and output markets. The interaction between these systems will enable key players and service providers to work together to deliver value to our smallholder farmers, the engine of our food system. More will be achieved by investments in technology that helps improve farm productivity, enhance value chain integration, expand access to both local and international markets, and boost resilience at the systems and farm level. The need for boosting resilience in these days and time cannot be overemphasized. We must also strengthen our agricultural systems to make them work for the smallholder farmers, especially the youth and women, in an integrated manner. This integrated system approach will help scale and sustain the inclusive agriculture transformation activities through increased public and private sector investments, as well as improved policies. Additionally, we need to build downstream delivery systems for smallholder farmers, whilst providing support to the local private sector to avail vital production technology and services to farmers. That is aside from developing the partnerships needed to create a stronger alignment between different actors within the agri-food stakeholder landscape. This, I must note, involves aligning government policies with private sector investment and creating the synergies among value chain actors for maximum impact. On our part, AGRA will remain committed to helping Ghana to consolidate its national food systems, and we are happy to sustain the momentum already created. Once again, happy National Farmers Day to all fruit growers in Ghana and to all our gallant farmers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lampo Agro, for these nice introductory remarks. So now I will call on the stage Dr. Solomon Jayan Ensa, who is Deputy Director of Crop Services at the Ministry of Agriculture in Ghana, for his opening remarks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and friends of the media. I'm highly honored to be called upon to deliver an opening remarks on this important theme, building integrated and resilient food systems in Ghana. Many thanks goes to AGRA and the West African Center for Crop Improvement for organizing this side event to mark the celebration of the 37th Farmers' Day. The Farmers' Day is a day set aside by government every year to honor gallant Ghanaian farmers and fisherfolks. This year, the Farmers' Day will be celebrated on Friday, 3rd December 2021, that is tomorrow, at Cape Coast, in the central region of Ghana. The theme for the 37th Farmers' Day is planting for food and jobs, consolidating food systems in Ghana. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture is reliably informed that this side event will feature a panel discussion on building integrated and resilient food systems in Ghana. Food systems imply integrated activities from farm to fork, including disposal. Building integrated and resilient food systems in Ghana must be backed with solid and implementable policies, strategies, plans, funding, leverage on digital technologies, strategic partnerships, technological innovations, increased involvement in research, among others, which I'm reliably convinced that our able panel members will throw more light on. Ghana, like several other countries in the region, is on track to achieve zero hunger. That is Sustainable Development Goal 2 by 2030 and the Global Nutrition Targets by 2025. The situation is worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and general economic conditions. The situation calls for drastic transformation of the prevailing food system to an integrated one that recognizes interrelationships between at least 5 recognizable food subsystems, which include agricultural production, food storage and transport, food transportation, food retail, and food consumption. More so, the food subsystems must interrelate with health, environment, education, trade, and energy to make it more integrated and robust. The government of Ghana has been making efforts to build integrated and resilient food systems. More recent is the special attention given to the agricultural sector, as manifested in the various policies, programs, and projects being developed and implemented under the current administration. Notable among these include the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign, which constitute 5 models. These include the food crop, planting for exports and rural development, rearing for food and jobs, greenhouse innovation villages, and agricultural mechanization services. Narrowing on subsidized certified seed supply to farmers under the food crops model of the campaign. In fact, as I said, variety maize seeds had been distributed respectively and utilized by farmers. With regards to rice and soya bean, about 16,382 metric tons, that is 91%, had been utilized. And soya bean, about 4,126 metric tons, that's 88%, had also been distributed and utilized by our farmers. With regards to various vegetables, which include tomato, pepper, cabbage, lettuce, onion, carrot, and cucumber, 260,000 sachets, and it's 100 grams per sachet, had been distributed and used by farmers. Farmers are also given subsidized fertilizers and dedicated extension services, among others, to increase their productivity and profitability. There is no doubt that Ghana has made some modest gains improving food production and food systems adoption through the implementation of the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign since 2017 and other initiatives. The campaign has also contributed in modernizing agriculture as well as improving the country's food and nutrition security. It is worth noting that the value chain approach, issues of climate change and COVID-19 pandemic, implementing policies by involving relevant institutions of both the public and private sectors, among others, are considered during the implementation of the agricultural programs and projects, including the PFJ campaign in building integrated and resilient food systems in Ghana. There is more room for improvements. It is the expectation of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture that the panel would discuss relevant areas of concern, which, when implemented, would help to consolidate the gains made in Ghana regarding building integrated and resilient food systems. The Ministry is grateful to all panel members for availing themselves to discuss this important topic of national discourse that is critical to the growth of the agricultural sector. Today's discussion on building integrated and resilient food systems in Ghana is appropriate at this point in time, since it will generate a cascade of discussions to strengthen the modest gains made in Ghana agriculture in recent times, as reflected in the theme of the 37th National Farmers' Day as Planting for Food and Jobs, Consolidating Food Systems in Ghana. Have a fruitful panel discussion to advance the conversation of having an inclusive and robust food systems in Ghana. Once again, we thank AGRA, WACI, and all the organizers for making this side event happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ansah, for these opening remarks. And thank you as well, Mrs. Lampo Agro and Professor Eric Dankwa, for opening this event on a resonant and hopeful note. My name is Jessie Lafourcade, and I'm the Communication Officer for AGRA. I was very pleased to guide you through this first part of the event that is coming to a close. And to continue and to lead you through the panel discussion, I will now call my colleague and friend, Mr. Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who is a journalist and who will guide you through the panel. Thank you, Joseph.
Jesse, thanks very much to Professor Dankwa, to Madam Juliet, and to Dr. Ansah. Many thanks for making time to join us for this conversation. We would get into the panel conversation in a while, but just to set the basis for the conversation, I'm a journalist, so I'm a storyteller. Listening to the whole conversation around the theme of this particular event, building integrated and resilient food systems in Ghana. A lot of big words there, just to break it down a bit. And for me, when we discuss resilience when it comes to the food systems in the country, my focus is usually on the farmer. And they are the people who are growing the food, so then it's expected that they should be the focus. So as a storyteller, I would want to tell you all about two farmer friends that I have. One of them is called Yao. He grows a 1.5-acre cornfield. He has a bit of yam and a bit of beans on the farm. He has his farm in the Techiman area, right here in the Bono region. The other one, Jacob, he has a very huge farm, like 220 acres. He grows a bit of corn, he grows a bit of mango, he grows a bit of cocoa, he has yam, he has vegetables. You know, all these are scattered across the country, including in the Techiman enclave. Now, what we see is that Jacob ends up consuming, well, somewhere around just less than 0.01% of all the produce that he has on his farms. Yeah, on the other hand, ends up consuming more than 30% of his produce, and then he sells off the rest to then raise money to do all the other things that's expected of himself in terms of taking care of his family and all. Now, in 2015, Ghana was hit by a drought of a sort, if you would all recall. We had a situation where, particularly in the middle belt of the country, there was the first rain that actually fell. The farmers went ahead and did their planting in those areas in the country. And then for close to 3 months, we hadn't seen the subsequent rains falling, particularly in the middle belt of the country. I saw this at first hand because then I traveled across the country to produce a documentary that I joined you with titled Lost Harvest, kind of highlighting how this impacted the activities that farmers undertake and the country's food security generally. Now, when this situation arose, Yao, who is the smallholder farmer, responded to this situation by gathering his friends, and they did a prayer session on a Friday afternoon, a big Muslim prayer session, to then call on God to let the rain fall. That's how Yao and his colleagues actually responded to this. On the other hand, Jacob recruited an agricultural consultant, a guy who was trained right here at the University of Ghana, to then guide him through how to deal with those challenges with regards to the climate situation. What did we see? He couldn't take his 10-year-old son to school because of lack of finances, and eventually he abandoned farming and relocated to Accra to then work as a waiter at a local restaurant. On the other hand, Jacob, who has the 220-acre farm, he drew on his savings at the Ghana Commercial Bank. He invested in a lot of irrigation facilities. His consultant advised him that if he wants to do the planting again, there are certain specific climate-resilient varieties that he should grow. So then he ended up doing that. And by the end of the year that followed, Jacob had actually expanded on his profits. He had built a big house at the East Legon suburb right here in Accra, and then he had doubled his savings. So what did we see happen? Yao, who is a smallholder farmer, virtually fell through the cracks when the drought hit, but then Jacob, on the other hand, took advantage of the climate situation to then fix the challenges with his business and ended up doubling his profit, and he's a richer man today. He's consolidated his gains as far as Ghana's agricultural sector is concerned. And so when we think of resilience, for me, this is what resilience looks like. Yao had almost zero resilience as far as his farming activities are concerned. Jacob, on the other hand, the story was very much different. For farmers like Yao, they are virtually sitting on the cliff. When the weather slaps them a bit with, the weather situations, they fall into the valley, and then they struggle to climb up subsequently. Well, how can we deal with some of these challenges going forward? My quick recommendations would be that we should see a situation where there is more government investment in smallholder agriculture specifically. We should have the private sector do more than just corporate social responsibility in terms of their support for farmers and approach it in a more integrated manner in terms of the kind of support that farmers should get in dealing with some of these challenges. And then I think, again, we should see some of those commercially viable farmers being committed enough to support their smallholder colleagues to then get out of the valley so that then it's a system that actually works to these challenges that I speak of and that we've had at this reference. And that's why at this juncture, I would invite a number of folks who are more knowledgeable in the field to help us with a conversation on this. Anthony Morrison is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Agri-Business. Anthony Morrison is also a farmer himself. He's joining us on the panel to then have a conversation about this. Not just him, Dr. Beatrice Ife is a plant breeder. She's a scientist right here at the West African Center for Crop Improvement at the University of Ghana. Dr. Beatrice Ife has been working on some of these climate-resilient varieties that could possibly help our farmers deal with some of these challenges when it comes to the environment and how they could then get out of the valley and be more sustainable farmers. Another farmer is joining us on the panel. Of course, it's Farmers' Day that's approaching just tomorrow, so we want to dedicate a large chunk of the conversation to farmers specifically rather than the others. So another farmer friend of mine is joining us. Nana Ejiaya is a rice farmer, and he's also president of the Ghana Rice Interprofessional Body. Nana, thanks very much. Dr. Dorothy Efa is programs officer in charge of policy and advocacy right here at the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. Dr. Efa is also joining us for this conversation. So then what do we have here? We have a policy person, we have a civil society person, and we have a farmer as well on the panel, and then we have a scientist also joining us for this conversation over the next 45 minutes or so. My good friends, many thanks to all of you for joining us for this conversation. I'll begin with you, Anthony Morrison, who is Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Agri-Business. And my initial question will be, broadly, how do we build that resilience? How do we create the Jacob kind of farmers out of the Yao kind of farmers who have that vast resilience and are able to support not just themselves, but their communities when it comes to producing the food that we need in order to ensure our food security as a people?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for this invitation. Let me first of all applaud Agra and Waki for organizing the side event with regards to the National Farmers' Day. For me, I think that most importantly, what we have failed to do over the years is to collaborate and strengthen our partnerships. Collaboration with regards to the private sector, research institutions, government policymakers, and several other players within the value chain, such as insurance and also credit or financial institutions. More selfish in approaching our engagement. We think that wherever we get our resources from, our knowledge or capacity from, we don't need to share. And for me, that has been a major setback to having a more resilient agriculture or agribusiness sector. We have also failed to appreciate the critical role of research institutions, research scientists, and several other critical skills that are required in the industry. You also know that I chair the Ghana Agricultural Sector Skills Body of the TVET Commission, and we have noticed that a major challenge towards a resilient industry is because as a country we do not have more of such skills that are required, and in cases where we have, or in the fields that we have some, we fail to tap their knowledge. Probably sometimes as a result of the fact that most of these farmers who needs to tap this knowledge don't either know of the existence of such skills people, or such skilled people actually comes at a cost that they cannot afford. So for me, it's a multiplicity of factors. We have also realized, just as the Economic Magazine have stated earlier in the year, that government failure to be committed or align their policies is also a major factor towards our resilience. If government states policies and can be committed to it, and government can align their policies appropriately to a more sustainable resilient strategies, these are very critical towards driving a robust resilient system. I will end here and allow my colleagues to come in.
So definitely key points there. I'm hearing collaborations, I'm hearing the need for us to ensure that we have adequate and appropriate policies that can help fix some of these challenges. And the bit about the role that research can play in this as far as academia is concerned is also very crucial. I'll get to Dr. Efe in a while to then get a comment on that. But to Nana Ejiaye, yourself, you are a food grower and you have the Ghana Rice Interprofessional Body. You see a lot of these collaborations and partnerships aimed at helping build the kind of resilience that we speak of. How could things be done differently beyond what you've seen unfold over the years in terms of what can be done to strengthen the food system so we don't have the kind of challenges that climate change could cause and end up hampering the efforts to ensure food security?
Hello. Thank you, Poku. Anytime I go on stage with Mr. Morrison, Anthony, he makes my job so easy. He says almost everything that I want to say. Look, if you want to see or know how to, and you say it. Nobody should tell you. Look, when you were talking, you made a statement that we have a smallholder farmer, and there's this guy, is it Kweku or Kwame, who's the 200, and
that's Jacob.
That's Jacob. Jacob is 220 acre farmer, and he's a huge farmer. You see, when you leave Ghana, just go to Zimbabwe. Somebody with a 220 acres is a smallholder farmer. Okay. Our situation is unique. Let me talk about plantain. If you look at the production of plantain and cassava, for instance, we don't have commercial farmers in Ghana who grows plantain. If I say commercial farmers, I mean somebody beyond your 200 acres. No. It's being produced by smallholder farmers. And how are they resilient? We almost have plantain throughout the whole year when the rains are good. It tells you that if governments, you see, sometimes I don't like using the word government, because as soon as you mention government, then everybody thinks you are talking about the current government. No, I'm talking about past and present. If governments will invest in extension offices in the rural areas, we'll have resilient farmers, both small and big farmers. It's easy to do it. I live in a rural area. I'm a traditional ruler. I see my people, most of my farmers in my area are smallholder farmers. And I see people fail in their cocoa production, and I see people fail in rice. I have to sometimes counsel these people. We need the system to work in the rural areas.
Sure.
If we are able to do that, this wouldn't be a story.
Very well.
Look at it this year. The rain pattern has changed. And I was expecting the system to come up, if I say system, I mean government, to come up with some sort of education, advising farmers to change how and when they crop. Nothing has happened.
Yeah. So obviously, there is more that needs to be done in terms of collaborations between state institutions, private institutions, and Dr. Efe, obviously, increased investment in science and research are necessary to help build this resilience in the food system, isn't that?
Thank you, Joseph. So, with regards to research funding, we know globally research is not sufficient to meet the challenges that we have. But we have also noticed that many countries, developed countries, who have invested heavily in research have recorded tremendous economic growth. So it tells us that there is need for investment in research in Ghana. If our government can invest in research, what research does is, research will find solutions to the problems that we have. Research can develop innovations that will take to our farmers to improve their livelihoods. research will develop climate-smart resilient varieties that our farmers can use. So basically, research is critical, and funding research is critical if we want to address resilience food systems in Ghana.
That obviously cannot be overemphasized, the need for increased investment in research. Dr. Dothiefa, yourself and your colleagues at Agra are doing a lot of this in terms of trying to help support the food system that we have in the country with the necessary things that would help make a difference and to build the resilience. Give us some ideas on what you guys are doing at your end, which could possibly be scaled up to help make the difference generally across the country in building resilient food systems.
Thank you, Joseph, for the opportunity. As already been alluded by the country manager, AGRA, we are a farmer-centered organization, and we are working closely with the smallholder farmers, making sure that we support them to improve their wealth as well as providing food security for African countries. And AGRA, we are currently working in 11 African countries. We have our presence there, and we do that through providing grants, providing technical assistance, providing staff time, as well as convenience, like providing platform for people to come together, researchers and others. A typical example is our AGRF, that's African Green Revolution Forum, that we organize annually. In addition to that, AGRA, we would really work with government because we really make sure that we do not go contrary to the objectives and values of the government. So we work critically, closely with the government, and we do that through providing support to government for policies, and as well as systems and partnership. So probably I will dwell more on policy today, but when it looks at systems, as already been alluded, you realize that we are looking at making sure that the technologies are available when we are talking about resilience. And that is why AGRA has been supporting institutions like WAGI, as Prof just said, to come out with breeders who are really going to come out with early maturing varieties, improved varieties that will really make the smallholder farmer resilient. And talking about policy, we also, as I said, work with government. And a typical example that I would like to stress on is making farmers resilient is through agricultural insurance. We all know that agriculture is very risky. And we know the current situation of this climate change is affecting them. And for that, and so AGRA, in collaboration with National Insurance Commission, worked together and then came out with agricultural insurance policy. As well as, you know, Ghana, we have the National Insurance Act, but there was nothing about agricultural insurance, which is really going to provide resilience to these farmers. And so together with NIC, as I already mentioned, the Insurance Act was amended 2020, and now we are having agricultural insurance as part of the National Insurance Act. And this is paving way for other people to provide agricultural insurance to farmers, because we see it as one of the critical areas that will really make farmers resilient. Provide them with input, provide them with everything, but if the weather fails them and all the investment are lost, they may not go back to farming. And that's why we are thinking that agricultural insurance is pretty critical when it comes to resilience. I think there are other initiatives that AGRA is taking, but I'll hold on for now.
Thanks very much, Dr. Efa. And that's a key point, Nana, isn't it? You know, this conversation around insurance for farmers, we've been having it for as long as I've been alive, if I'm not mistaken, and we've not seen some of these policies then actually getting out of the boardroom directly for the farmers to benefit from that. And additionally, the other thing I'm hearing is just maybe in terms of building a resilient food system, it goes beyond just the seed that goes into the ground and the watering that needs to be done. All the other things which are the sociocultural practices in connection with it, including possibly insurance, including the available markets, are things that attention should be paid to if we would want to make a difference in terms of building resilience. What's your thoughts on some of those additional things that could really make a difference beyond the seeds going to the ground and the productivity bits that farmers need in order to be able to have more resilience to deal with the challenges of climate change and others?
Hello. Yeah, I'm glad my co-panelist here mentioned insurance. But how expensive is that going to be? The insurance. I don't know if you say insurance, I don't know the kind of insurance we are talking about. Okay, it has to be explained. In the US, for instance, farmers are subsidized heavily. These are some of the areas I would like government to look at. Subsidizing a farmer doesn't make the farmer lazy. Sometimes you go around and you hear these things. Okay, so we want farmers to enjoy farming, but you have to give a farmer a reason why he should be farming. And if the risk is so high, you're not going to get the resilient farmer that you are looking for.
Banana, aren't you getting a bit of those subsidies already? Government speaks a lot about the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative and how farmers are getting access to subsidized seeds, subsidized fertilizer. We've had a long conversation about the fertilizer subsidy program and how there's been complaints that a lot of those fertilizers are not reaching farmers to a certain extent. But aren't you farmers getting some subsidies already? Or then you think more needs to be done in that regard?
Well, you are pushing me to an area that you want to put me in trouble. Young man, when you talk about subsidy, yes, we are having some subsidy. Is it enough? Is it something that can make, that can let a farmer be resilient when there are problems? Can it solve the problems when a farmer is facing some crisis? No. Even look at this year. How many farmers got fertilizer? You know, when you bring this thing up, you have people coming in to give you excuses. I don't want to go to that area. I think more can be done for the farmer. We are not getting enough subsidy as we need to get.
Anthony Morrison, your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think, let me say that as a country, we have been on a trajectory where we have misplaced some critical priority. The thing is that we do not have an agricultural social intervention system. The kind of system we are running now, the PFJ, is it a subsidy system is it an economic subsidy system, or is an agricultural social intervention system? We need to identify the critical role of such policy interventions. If we do understand it, for instance, I'm saying this at the backdrop of the fact that when the pandemic came in, all other sectors had support systems, but agriculture system was left alone. You understand? Across global major economic powerhouses, European Union, US, and several others supported their farmers, provided scientists with special packages to go in and help farmers. Militaries were being supported to go in and help farmers to harvest. China have to provide facilities to the military, get farmers to step aside. Military went in and harvested so that they can be food secured as a country. What did we provide our farmers during the pandemic? We have previously called for the fact that we need to institute an agriculture emergency fund or look at a pandemic fund. Nothing of that nature was heard. Pandemic came in, there was a lockdown. Farmers were restrained from going or accessing their farms. Access of foodstuffs from the farm to the farm, the main market centers were restrained. And this has continued even as we speak today. Access to fertilizer is a major challenge. Access to seeds. So what we need to do as a country, let's look at what we have instead of trying to benchmark some of the things that are happening in other sectors of global economies, and see what are our resilient And if you are going to look at what is happening in probably Canada, Japan, or elsewhere, we may be missing the point. And for me, I want to stress on the importance of use of technology. The World Bank report and the FAO report have stated it clearly. I mean, going forward 9 years away from now, that report is expected African farmers to make $1 trillion by 2030. And yet still, over 70% of African farmers use this rudimentary technology. In fact, our last agriculture census was very emphatic on it, that over 70% of Ghanaian farmers still use this rudimentary technology. So how can we be resilient? I was just talking to my good friend, Dr. John Eleblu, how we developed a very good strategic project with WACI and the Chamber of Agri-Business to give skills training. And that report by FAO was very emphatic on the fact that African farmers lack the needed skills to turn around 1 hectare of farm to be competitive with an European farmer. Whereas the European farmer may be coming up with maybe, let's say 9 to 12 tons of maize per hectare. What are we doing here? Far below the standard. So we need to look at the skills that are available, tap into our local indigenous technologies, while having access support system from the research institutions to develop on available technology. We know that technology comes at a cost, but we need to make all the efforts to embrace it. And let me add technology to data. As a country, it's rather worrisome that we do not have a timely, robust data, something including themselves. What is happening as to the next 2 years expected productivity from every country, they know. Even here in Ghana, during the pandemic, when the chamber requested for government to do a skimming and look at the major areas of productivity, so we can zoom in and support farmers and mop out various products that are on the farm so that we can be food secured. Nobody knew why these things were going to happen. So we need to be strategic mappings will have to be done. The census we've done are lying on shelves of major policymakers. This has not yet seen the day of light. In the computer, nobody have analyzed data from this census as to how this census is going to help us in the next 5 years of our strategic planning, in the next 15 years. And for me, let me also add that policy every 4 years, 5 years is appalling. No right-thinking government in today's world will put together a 5-year strategy for agriculture. Agriculture is the fire and the backbone of every economy. And 5 years, no, it's unacceptable. That is when the private sector sees the investment. No investment organization or institution will make an investment into a 5-year strategy. No way, because they do understand that it takes the researcher 3 years, sometimes 7 years to come up with a very strong economic or commercial viable project. And you are going to ask an investment person to make investment into a 5 years. Where is the scientific base?
So let's do that. So let's come back to that in a while. You've given us a lot to think about over the last few minutes. You spoke about the need for long-term policy planning. I would subsequently get to Dr. Ifa if there are any lessons in terms of how AGRA has done it over the years that Ghana as a nation could possibly pick on. You also spoke about the need for us to focus a bit more on what gives us a certain competitiveness as far as the agricultural sector is concerned. I'll be asking Nana Ejiaya about how we can use rice to do that in a while. But before we get there, you spoke about various technologies that would possibly make a difference in the work that farmers do. What are some of those specific technological innovations that, from your perspective, Dr. Efe, could possibly make a difference in the work that farmers do to then make them improve their yields and possibly be more resilient as far as their general agricultural system is concerned?
Yeah, so I'll start from where my good friend ended, when he mentioned that no private sector want to invest in something for 5 years and wait for a return for 5 years. In the US or in China, they know that's a long-term thing. And then they invest because they know the importance of their investment. So we would encourage that the private sector partners also see investing in agriculture as a critical agenda in their own country, policies, that they have internally? How would they invest in capacity building? You see, these are the people who would develop the technologies that we need. It's sad to say that don't shy away from funding research. They want to scale up technologies, but technology is a continuous process, and the problems are continuing to change. They won't remain the same. Before COVID, food systems was challenged with trying to meet the rapidly growing population. How will we ensure that we are food and nutrition secured? How would ensure that the livelihood in a good manner, that will ensure that we are not falling into the problem of the climate change. Climate change came as a result of also agricultural interventions. What interventions do we need to now bring about that would reduce the impact on the environment? You see, so we also need research to release 3 hybrid varieties. So that's one technology. When we look at maize and other crops where hybrids are feasible, hybrids gives you higher yield per unit area. We need to produce more with less resources per unit area without necessarily affecting so much the environment. If we need to increase our land area, it should be because what we are using is efficient enough. We know that arable land is declining rapidly. We know that quite recently, world leaders got to reduce carbon emission to 1.5. How can we do that if we don't invest in research? Research is critical to do that. And we call on government to be part of it, to be more interested in funding research. We call on the donors, not critical, if we want to bring about innovations that are resilient for our smallholder farmers.
Let's box all of that together for Dr. Dothier to then provide some perspectives on. So how do we ensure the organizations and don't give up on the ordinary farmer? What are the lessons from how you do your work right at Agra in terms of long-term approach to getting things done and focusing on the real things that the farmer needs? That could possibly be lessons that we could expand on as a nation global.
At Agra, we work, as I said earlier, we work with partners and we also work with government. And so most of our intervention is something that does not go contrary to what the government is doing. But when Farmer Morrison was talking, he was talking about policies and the short-term policies. And Agra, we've been working closely with the government in supporting them to developing some policies and some legislations. And what happens is that we all know sometimes we can develop a good, and so for us as Agra, when we work with farmers, we work through initiation, development of the policy, validation, and then approval, and then we look at implementation. And let me give you a typical example. Agra, we work with our partners and came out with Plant and Fertilizer Act in 2010. Then the act came, we realized that there's the need for a legislation. So we follow up with a legislation on seed. So Agra worked closely with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and other partners to come out with seed legislation that is paving way. We do not end there. We supported our seed, certified seed growers. Currently, it will interest you to know that most of these certified seed growers who are even providing improved seeds under the PFJ program are Agra grantees. We are currently supporting those certified seed growers to come out with good quality certified seed for their farmers. And we are also supporting research institutions. Currently, we are having projects with crop research projects, including some farmers producing foundation seed as well as hybrid seeds, as she mentioned, because we are currently promoting hybrid seed, knowing that that is the way for resilience